This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. Tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sob like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
What is going on, Knick family? It's your boy, UnclefOOlio, and I'm here for a special Sunday morning edition of the Kontroversy. As always, these episodes are sponsored by Nothing But Knicks. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Also, hit that notification bell to be notified of any new content that we have for you, whether it be game previews, post-game shows, shoot-around coverage, controversy videos, and the Queen's Court. We're giving it to you full circle, ladies and gentlemen. So stay with us as we, throughout the year as the Knicks continue on this beautiful season that they're having so far. Topic of this video is UnclefOOlio defends his RJ Barrett take. Okay, listen, I don't run from nothing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I don't run from anything. I'm up for any challenge. Okay, and like I said, I do not bite my tongue. I meant what I said about RJ Barrett, and we're going to discuss it. All right, and here to discuss this topic with me is someone who called the post game show last night. Okay, and he called me out directly. So what do? We sent him the link, right? And we got him in here to debate your boy, to debate the big dog. All right, because I run from absolutely nothing. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So let me get him in here right now. His name is Ballas Cruz, ladies and gentlemen. Give him a warm welcome. Ballas Cruz, what's good, man? What's good?
How y'all doing? Bing bong. How you guys doing? How you guys doing? Hope everybody's having a blessed Sunday and eating good.
That's right. That's right. Bing bong it is. Listen, the Knicks are 5-1. Yeah, it's a great thing to see. But specifically, we want to talk about last night's game and me, my take about RJ Barrett. All right, that's what we're gonna talk about. Enough of all these pleasantries and all this other stuff. All right, so we're gonna get directly into it. So go ahead.
I just want to say before the chat message that yes, I am rocking the Corner Style Cav Special Edition headphone with the mic. I
am. Shout out to my man Cornerstone. I know he was happy about what he's seen last night, and I think we all were very, very happy about the performance that RJ Barrett put on last night. I mean, you just can't say enough about what he's done, and the type of performance he put on, how he did it, and the fact that the Knicks got the W based off what he did. So before we get started, any comments you want to make about RJ Barrett last night? Anything that you've seen from him that just your overall thoughts about last night?
Man, overall, the game he had a great game yesterday. He showed a lot of power. Something that he's been doing this year that he started to do last year is when he drives into the paint, he keeps his head up. And I think he even mentioned that in the post-game interview. So I think he feels more comfortable driving to the paint now, and he feels that's a sign of just a confidence in RJ. RJ's always had confidence, but, coming into the league as an 18-year-old, there are players that were better than him, and there are currently better than him. So, he's always felt before that he was always the best player on the court, and I think is always has been an adjustment. RJ continuing to adjust. That's a great sign for me for RJ. And to me, what was impressive was those last 5 minutes of the game. RJ really stepped up. You can get 30 points, an easy 30 bucket game. That doesn't mean nothing to me. It's how you get those points that really speak volumes. And yesterday he took over the game, and we haven't seen RJ necessarily do that. We've seen RJ score 20 points. Maybe I think he scored 30 last year as well, but it wasn't in the fashion that he did last night. And I think that's what speaks volumes to me. It's like, it reminds me of Emmanuel Quickly. Emmanuel Quickly might have gotten an easy 30 buckets last year, but there was those games where he scored 15 buckets and he took over the game and closed them out for us. That was really impressive to me. So that's what I really look for, is how you get your points, and when you get your points, how what was the impact of that? Because you can score 10 points that whole game, but if you took over in those last 2 minutes and that ended up being a win, that shows your character, and that's what impressed me last night about RJ.
All right, so but I just want to hear you say it, because you said everything that how I was thinking. We've never seen RJ Barrett do something like that before. We've never seen the ball in RJ Barrett's hands, everyone else getting out the way, and they say, RJ, we need you to score this bucket. We've never seen that before.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? To me, it's not about the production. The production always, 35 points, obviously, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. To me, that says a lot. But to me, what says more is how you get those points. And like you said, we've never seen him in that position before. Now, a lot of people can argue, well, Julius Randle had it. It was supposed to be Julius Randle, which, yes, I agree with. But there was times, and you're saying that this season, Julius Randle's not shooting well or something. He's just not mentally involved in the game or whatever the case may be. So somebody else needs to step up. Last season, RJ Barrett was the second best player on this team. Am I right? Am I wrong?
Production-wise, yeah. To me, the second best player on the team last year was Derrick Rose, and I don't want to take that away from him.
What about before we got Derrick Rose? Derrick Rose came halfway through the season.
Oh, yeah. I mean, before we got Derrick Rose, we didn't have much. So, yes, correct. He was the second best player on the team, yeah.
Right, absolutely, right? So last season, and I had the video up here from the video I had from last season, but obviously I can't upload it, so I can't show you guys. But that's all I was saying about RJ Barrett, right? And people were calling him, to Knicks fans, RJ Barrett was the second best thing next to sliced bread. You know what I'm saying? He was that type of player. So if you're gonna be that dude, why you ain't got the ball in your hands? Why are you not calling for the ball in your hand?
I mean, they're not necessarily wrong for that. I mean, this is my thing, and this is something that I feel that you guys have been missing out, specifically you and Verizon Whopper Jr. and Nate No Take. Okay, this is something not necessarily you as much, because sometimes you come back down to earth, but you got to understand value. And I think sometimes the NBA is a league where they overcharge you. Okay, you made a take last year about trading for Westbrook. I didn't agree with it from the beginning, because Westbrook's numbers are declining. He's not as good of a player as he once was. When he was in his prime, he was the best player in the league. Nobody can take that. I still believe that. That year that Westbrook was just dominating, he was better than LeBron, everyone. I say that to this day. People knock me for that. He was averaging 30 points a game, like 20 rebounds, 100 assists a game. He was going off. But within the last 3 to 4 years, Westbrook has been declining. Is he a still good player? Yes. But I don't think that's enough value for me to go trade for an old guy and be stuck in the Carmelo situation again. And I love Carmelo, but I'm not going to trade away my young assets that have future value. And I think sometimes people get carried away. Knicks fans always want what looks gold isn't always gold. And you want to trade away future value for somebody who's declining. We would have traded for, say we would have threw a bag for Russell Westbrook last year. First of all, this year we would be a horrible team with Russell Westbrook. We'd probably be 0-6. Second of all, in 3 or 4 years, we're back to rebuilding again. And I think that's the whole point with Knicks fans. And even when Cornerstone Kev didn't want to trade Frank Ntilikina, Kevin Knox, and guys like that, I kind of understood where he was coming from, but I also didn't agree, because I didn't feel those guys had that much future value. Kevin Knox is a shooter who doesn't shoot. Frank Ntilikina is a defensive player who just didn't have a spot on his team. So, to me, those guys are expendable. When you talk about a guy like RJ, we're talking about future value, especially last year when I seen the numbers he was putting up as a complimentary piece, let alone as a complimentary piece. A lot of guys can't put up almost 20 points a game as a complimentary piece. Most complimentary pieces in the league put up at least 12 to 14 points. RJ put up 20, which showed me this guy can score a bucket. Now, when he takes over scoring buckets, he's going to be a problem. And you want to trade him for Russell Westbrook? You want to trade away a young budding NBA player, future All-Star to me, for Russell Westbrook? That was the craziest take that I've heard in years.
Let me just say this. First and foremost, RJ Barrett cannot shine Russell Westbrook's shoes. All right, that's number one. I like everything you said. Everything that Russell Westbrook has done in the NBA, it speaks volumes. Russell Westbrook has a bigger playoff record than the Knicks have had in the last 20 years. So Russell Westbrook is built, to be playing in April, May, and June. All right, that's the type of player he is. And the reason why I wanted him, one of the biggest reasons why I wanted him, is because I know the Knicks needed someone else outside of Randle to have the ball at the end of the game. right? That they can be able to run plays through. They didn't have nobody else on the roster outside of Randall last season. Okay. Secondly, people talk about Russell Westbrook being a low IQ player, and you can never say he had a low motor. You can never say that. And the last year, David Fizdale, you've seen the players that we had on the team. The players were not giving it their all 100% every night. And I felt like the Knicks needed that kind of spark, that kind of energy from a guy who, has proven to take a team on his back literally to win 50 games per year. And this is after Kevin Durant left. Like, Russell Westbrook literally carried that franchise. So I just don't understand the disrespect behind it. Listen. Right now,
there's no Josh.
Hold on. Let me finish. I just don't understand how Knicks fans can obviously say Russell Westbrook cannot lead a team. I just totally don't understand that. To me, he has shown that he needs to, that he can do that. Absolutely, unequivocally. And I felt like he would have been a great addition for the team, especially at the point guard position, because we didn't have one. Listen. Listen. Personally, as far as me making trades is concerned, I know I said the same thing about Ben Simmons. If we can keep RJ Barrett, perfect, no problem. But you're not telling me that if we have a chance to go out and get a guy that can definitely lead a team and be a second player next to Julius Randle, that RJ Barrett, for me, wasn't going to stop the trade. He's not stopping that trade for me. I'm sorry. He just wasn't at that level yet. Now, what he did last night, that's different. That's different because basically he played that role of that guy that you can give the ball to at the end of the game, right? But last season, he didn't show me any glimpses of that. He was a catch and shoot kind of guy, a role player kind of guy, like you said, complimentary piece. So, and that's where I was coming from with that take. What do you have to say about that?
First of all, there are some dumb Knicks fans. They come in bunches, right? But I'm not disrespecting Russell Westbrook. What I'm saying, in value, it's not enough. What was your plan with getting Russell Westbrook? To make the playoffs for 2 years and then rebuild again?
But that's not the right way to look at it, though, because
it is because you would throw away the bag for Russell Westbrook. What are you going to build off of that? That doesn't guarantee players are going to want to come over here and sign. We went through this with Carmelo. We thought because we got Carmelo, we were going to be able to sign big free agents and come with Carmelo.
But us not getting free agents wasn't because of Carmelo. Us not getting free agents was because of management and the people that we had running the team. Carmelo didn't handicap his team. We only gave up. Hold on. But this is the narrative that I'm talking about. Carmelo Anthony never handicapped this team. He's the one that wanted to come here. The Knicks gave up Danilo Gallinari and Raymond Felton and Wilson Chandler to get Carmelo Anthony. That got us to the playoffs for the first time in 12 years. 12 years. So I don't think it wasn't Carmelo.
And you're
content.
The management. I don't have a problem with Carmelo. I'm talking about the logistics of it. You're content with just going to the playoffs and not winning a championship.
No,
and that's the problem with Knicks fans. Hold on, let me speak. That's the problem with Knicks fans. We continue to put ourselves in this hole of trading for superstars, never building our own. And if we do build our own, we trade them away. Guaranteed, we came out winning that Kristaps Porzingis trade. But we're going to continue to go into this cycle of continuing to build a playoff team to contend for 3 or 4 years and go back to rebuild it. No, we need to hold on to our assets until we actually see what their value. RJ is still only 21 years old, correct? Which means we have at least 2 more years to see where RJ lands. And with the progression of RJ, even in 2 years, if he's not a player that takes over, he's still going to be a high valuable piece because at that point, I expect him to be at least averaging 20 points a game still and be a defensive player. That is still a high value piece. You can still trade RJ in 2 years. But right now for Russell Westbrook, hell no, I'm not trading for Russell Westbrook right now. We're not in a position to win a championship this year or next year. So trading for Russell Westbrook was not going to help us win a championship. Okay? We're going to trade away all our assets for Russell Westbrook. We're going to be stuck with nothing. We were going to be back to rebuilding in 3 years. And I think it's hard for Knicks fans to see that because we see the now. And that is the truth. Josh, whether you like it or not, we were not going to win a championship with Russell Westbrook. We're not winning a championship now with the team we have or the team we're going to have next year. This is a process. And I think you stick to the process. Right now, we're a competitive team. We got guys learning under Kemba Walker, Taj Gibson, Derrick Rose. And we got a guy like Evan Fournier with a high basketball IQ, which we haven't had a player like that in a long time, who can at least rub off on our young players. You understand? We're doing what we need to do right now. And I don't think even last year that was a very immature choice to try to even think of trading for Russell Westbrook, because his numbers are showing that he's not as valuable as he once was. He is valuable on a team that is stacked with guys like LeBron, with guys like AD, because he can easily complement those players and take over a game. But if he was to come over here to the Garden, he's not helping us win games. Not last year, not this year, not the next. It's not happening, because
So,
that's because we're thinking in what ifs after we trade for Westbrook. Maybe we'll build a contending team. What if nobody decides to come here? What if that's the whole thing? What if this whole thing with Leon Rose, William Wesley, and all these guys coming here don't mean crap? Free agents decide they still don't want to come to the Knicks. We got to continue to rebuild. We got to build something people want to come to. And I don't think we're at that point yet. And I don't think we're at the point where we have assets to where we're not going to get fleeced. I say this. I say we continue to play this year. Watch Obi develop. If Obi can become, at one point in this season, average at least 15 points a game, then we can start talking about having a trade piece, because you can easily replace a power forward off the bench. But then you have a piece that is not in your starting rotation that you can use to bring in a star player. And I think that's the plan the Knicks should have. And I think that's the most tradable asset. Don't trade away RJ. You'd be ridiculous to trade away RJ. If you see his trajectory, you know he's going to be a star.
So first and foremost, right now, listen, like I said, if RJ Barrett continues to play the way he played last night, he's untradeable to me. Absolutely no question. But we're talking about last season. Don't mix up last season and the year before that with this season, right? This season's totally different. The Knicks are doing something right now that's special, right? And I don't want to break that up. Right now, I don't want to trade anybody for anything, not right now. I think during the midway through the season, I think there will be some sort of, small trade, kind of like what they did with Derrick Rose last year, bringing him in just to, get some more depth and shore up that bench a little bit. I think that's going to happen. But I don't want to do anything big right now, right? And last season, I wasn't actively pushing RJ Barrett out there. I was not doing that. I just said that, one, I would go after someone like Russell Westbrook, right? I would go after that type of player. I would like to keep RJ Barrett, but RJ Barrett, for me, is not going to stop that trade from happening, right? That doesn't mean I'm actively pushing him out there saying, I don't like RJ Barrett and I don't want him on the team. All right, that's number one. Number two, you mentioned Carmelo Anthony, right? Yes, the Knicks got to the playoffs for 2 years or whatever the case may be, right? And then after that, they didn't go back. But that wasn't because of him. That was because the team failed to properly build around him. The Andre Bargnani trade, firing Mike Woodson, all that stuff was an organizational thing. It wasn't because of the player that we got, right? So I just think Knicks fans are kind of stuck in this PTSD mentality where they think that if we go out and trade for anybody, it's going to ruin everything that we have building for the future. A couple of years ago, people were saying we should never trade Frank Ntilikina. We should never trade Dennis Smith Jr. Last season they said Quickly was untradeable. Now you got some people willing to throw him out the door because he can't hit the rim, right? So again, I just think Knicks fans are very fickle with this kind of topic. I don't want to break up what the Knicks have. Right? I want them to continue to build. I want them to do that. But you can still go out and add players and build. Why you think teams like Boston, like Miami, like the Lakers, they're constantly able to go out and get players and constantly able to win and be relevant? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing wrong with that either, okay? The baby Lakers from years ago, Kyle Kuzma and all those guys. Kyle Kuzma was the only one that stuck around in the Anthony Davis trade. They got rid of the entire, baby Lakers situation and wound up winning the championship 2 years later. So there's ways you can go about winning the championship. I like to build organically, but to me, the Knicks haven't won a championship in over 50 years, people. 50 years. 50. So I want a championship just as bad as anyone else. And, what happens this season, I think if the Knicks win the championship this year, it'll be perfect. We did it with our own people, right? And Randall. But, if there's an opportunity to go out and win a championship by bringing in superstars, I want to do that. You know what I'm saying? And RJ Barrett showed last night that he's somebody you got to keep around. You can't trade him, right? And listen, I apologize for that, right? I was wrong. RJ Barrett showed last night that he could possibly be that dude. Right. And I'm not running from it. I'm admitting it as a man. I'm admitting that, I was wrong about that. But before last night, RJ Barrett didn't show any of that. I didn't see any glimpses of that. What I seen from RJ Barrett beforehand was him being a catch and shoot player, was him struggling to finish at the rim, was him struggling to take the ball off the dribble to score. Right. And he wasn't as good of a defensive player as he is right now. And even right now, he's not the best defensive player because he gets beat backdoor and off the ball all the time. Right? Talking about he had DeMar DeRozan in jail. DeMar DeRozan, that play was doomed from the start because Vucevic was in the corner. The spacing was absolutely terrible on that last play from Chicago. And Mitch came over to help. You know what I'm saying? Now RJ got the good defensive play there, but at the same time, the spacing was terrible, right? So, there's
Yeah.
multiple ways we can look at this here.
Um,
I just want to make sure people understand I'm not actively pushing RJ Barrett out there. It was just hypothetical trade scenarios that if we needed to move him, I would have no problem doing it. But obviously it didn't happen, and I think we're okay. It's okay.
Now, I want to go back to the Carmelo. I don't want to.
Okay.
I'm not saying I blame Carmelo, but what happened with the Carmelo trade is that we insinuated that since we have Carmelo now, other players will join. So after guys like J.R. Smith and Raymond Felton and Tyson Chandler started fizzling out, it was hard for the Knicks to obtain anybody to this team because the Knicks have just had a bad reputation. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
nobody wanted to come here because of the owner or whatever the case
Mm-hmm.
may be. That might be the case right now. We actually don't know this. I mean, we got guys like Kemba Walker was on his last resort and was like, you know what, might as well go back home for $8 million a year, right? Evan Fournier, nobody was going to pick him up, and I think the Knicks got to steal with that because we got a sharpshooter. But my case with that is that you don't want to put yourself in a position again where you trade for a guy like Russell Westbrook and you can't add to it because nobody wants to come here. It's not that Melo's fault. I believe that if in any other universe that Melo trade would have worked out with us, if people wanted to come here, we would have had one of the best teams in the league. But the fact is, we live in this owner's universe, and unfortunately, this owner has a bad reputation, which I don't always understand. I mean, I get it. He kicked out a couple guys, and I understand that. But you
Let
know
me ask you a
what?
question. You said nobody wants to come here. We had Carmelo Anthony that wanted to come here. We had Julius Randle that wanted to come here. There's people that want to come here. This is still New York, and this is a place where you can make a lot of money, right? I think it wasn't just the owner. It was the people running the organization. It was, Phil Jackson's and all of that, the triangle offense and all of that stuff. Now we got competent people running the organization. It's obvious. So I do think there's people that want to come to New York. There's reports saying that the Damian Lillard wants to come to New York if he doesn't stay in Portland. So I just think that narrative that Knicks fans have about people not wanting to come here, I think that has changed. This team has shown that they're run much better, they're competent, and they're actually winning basketball games on the floor. So I don't think that nobody wants to come here. I think that narrative is kind of played out.
Well, I don't know about the narrative because we haven't been there to see it yet. So my narrative stays the same. Nobody wants to come here until somebody actually comes here. Nobody wants to come here. That's what I believe. I'm from Brooklyn, just like you. I see it when
My
I
man.
see it. You understand what I'm saying? So I ain't feeding into the narrative because we've been fed plenty of narratives over the years about LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Kyrie, all these guys, and nothing comes to show. We always get the second tier players, and I'm done with that. I say we build and continue to build and let these mofos come when they see us shine. That's it. They're
I
gonna
agree
want
with
to
that.
come.
I don't want to actively trade anybody right
Now,
now. I really
now,
don't.
do I think there's some expendable players on this team? I do think there's some expendable players. I like Obi, but if Obi can get his value up and we can bring a piece in here with a couple draft picks and maybe throwing a Deuce McBride and Quinn Grimes in there, those guys are sitting on the bench now. So if Obi does bring his value up, we have tradable assets. You understand? If Obi can get by the All-Star break to a point where people are like, you know what? I like this kid. I think he can be a starter on our team and eventually score 20 points a game for us. Let's call the Knicks. Maybe there are some players out there. Me personally, if I was going to trade RJ Barrett for anybody, I have a certain bracket of players that I would trade him for. And it would be any superstar that's under 26 and under. Guys like Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, guys like that. I'm not trading for no 30-year-old. That is not a value trade to me. I'd look at it as in football. That's why successful teams like the Patriots are always on top. They don't trade for old garbage. If they trade for old garbage, they trade for it as a complementary piece with a bunch of young players surrounded around their quarterback. That's what made them so successful for
I
a long
think I
time.
think the football basketball comparison is not the best in this particular situation. I
Uh,
think I
as of
think
right,
basketball is different. What about Chris Paul?
now, Chris Paul is special. There's nobody like him. What about
Oh,
right
okay.
now?
So
What
it's
about
not.
he's like a Tom Brady. The guy's ageless. What about right
So
now with
Chris
the
Paul,
Lakers?
Chris Paul is also someone I wanted the Knicks to trade for last season to improve the point guard position. And people were like, no, he's too old, he's this, he's that, and he makes too much money.
I
He,
think I
he got
think I think I would have been fine with a trade for him, but it had to been the right trade because then again, I don't think we would have been as competitive as the Suns were with Chris Paul. So
why
that's
not?
every situation is different. They have way better. I mean, this year a Chris Paul would definitely take our team up. You know what I mean? We just didn't have the depth or the mature talent at the time to be as competitive as the Suns had. Suns had a couple players in there that they were ready to shine. All players were still learning. So
You
maybe
understand that
this year.
the year prior to them making the NBA Finals, they didn't make the playoffs at all, right?
Yeah, but they did go on a nice bubble run and they showed some growth. So that was a sign for it. We're saying the same thing like the Knicks. The Knicks showed growth last year. This year with Chris Paul would be a problem. Last year with Chris Paul would be okay. It's all about timing. It's all about timing.
Now who's being the Debbie Downer? Now who's
I'm not
being the
being a Debbie
Debbie
Downer. The Knicks
Downer?
did great last year. I'm not saying that. But everything is in its own bracket, baby. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be comparing roses to dandelions. You know what I mean? It's just not. Everything is beautiful. Don't mean everything is where it's at. You know what I mean? So my thing is that where you at the time, you know, you have to build. And I think the Knicks are building right now. And I want to let a lot of Knicks, we're still rebuilding. We're still in a rebuilding phase. We just so happen to be one of those lucky teams that happen to be rebuilding and competitive. And that is a position you want to be in. Like, there's not a lot of teams that can say we're rebuilding and competitive. That is one of the best positions that you can be in. I can say that about OKC back in the days when they had James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Serge Ibaka, KD, all these guys. They were a rebuilding team, but they became a competitive team. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. Well, you know, that's a good situation to be in. I look at a team like Miami, right? Miami has all these dogs on there, but their homegrown talent, they added a guy like Jimmy Butler. I would love this team the way it's built now because we don't play that great of a defense as we did last year. A guy like Bradley Beal was to slide into this team, the Knicks would be outscoring guys like crazy because, you know, as constructed, the Wizards right now are a pretty good team, but Bradley Beal's not scoring 30 like he did last year game. On this team, Bradley will probably be scoring 40 because of the space and because of all the talent. You know what I mean? I would love a guy like Bradley Beal here or a guy like Donovan
Would you
Mitchell.
trade RJ for Bradley Beal right now?
I don't. How old is Bradley Beal? That's very important to me.
He's in his prime right now. I think he's not even 30 yet.
Probably 29. I probably
Yeah.
would. I'm not gonna lie. Bradley Beal is that type of talent. You know, with the way the Knicks are constructed right now, you add a guy like Bradley Beal, you're contending. Haven't seen him in a big spot. Then that's another question. I haven't seen him in a big spot in the playoffs, but we haven't seen our Knicks in a big spot in the playoffs yet, other than the first round. So I probably would. I mean, you trade for a guy like Bradley Beal, you you go up in rankings for the contender.
So let me just highlight this comment. New York, thank you for the comment. He said, to me, you're just talking about me. To me, you're just a hater of RJ, simple and plain. It seems like you don't want to see what's obvious. This kid is a talent, and I never hear you criticize Randall, and I don't know what else he's trying to say. I've criticized Julius Randle numerous amounts of times. Absolutely. I came down on him hard last season in the playoffs. Everyone knows that, and I think you can attest to that. I came down on
Josh,
Julius
I
Randle.
don't think you're a hater of RJ. I think you took some takes last year about RJ that kind of was like, I don't think you're a hater of RJ. I don't at all. And I want to address these Knicks fans that keep on pushing the button on Julius Randle. Okay. First of all, if it wasn't for Julius Randle, we wouldn't be 5-1. I don't care how you paint it. The numbers don't tell the story. The reason the Knicks are open is because these teams have to double team Julius Randle, and they so worried about Julius Randle balling them out. That's why his numbers ain't up there. You're not 5-1 without Julius Randle. So for all you damn Knicks fans out there that want to keep poking at Julius Randle, let's trade away Julius Randle and see how sunny it is on that side of the freaking garden. All right. So cut it out, guys. Guys sound ridiculous right now. You know what I mean? This is what happens when you have a great player of Julius's caliber. Teams are going to double team him. When they go into this game, their defense is focused on stopping Julius Randle. It's why a guy like Kemba Walker, who isn't as fast as he's used to be, is able to come off screens and shoot the three because there isn't too many guys up top in the perimeter because they have to bring a guy down to the paint. So you guys need to cut it out. You guys look at numbers and you look at a field goal percentage. That doesn't tell the story. Look at the game and see, does Julius Randle make boneheaded plays? Yeah, he's not the smartest player, but he's a great player. He's a naturally skilled player, and he knows how to play the game of basketball, and that is why we're 5-1 right now. So cut it out.
Let me just say, I read this comment. Danielle, thank you for the comment. He says, I'm not trading RJ for Bill. He only has 1 year left in this deal. That makes no sense. So obviously, we're not talking about the contract situation. We're just talking about replacing one player for another player. Contract stuff, we're not even talking about that. Obviously, you're not going to make that deal because Bradley Beal will be a rental at that point, right? So
that would be a signing trade,
right? It would be something like a signing trade, or you're going to keep Bradley Beal around for a long time. That's the reason why I asked the question, okay? But listen, no one actively wants to shop RJ Barrett right now. Like,
Yeah.
I just want everyone to understand that. And that's what I was trying to get across. Like, just because I said that he wasn't untradeable doesn't mean I'm selling him away for a box of cookies. That's not what I'm doing. That's not what I was trying to do. And, people can hold on. People can say that, Russell Westbrook would have been a box of cookies. No, don't disrespect that man like that. Or Ben Simmons neither. I think people are sleeping on Ben Simmons. Now, I understand that it's a situation going on in Philadelphia right now, and we don't want to, go anywhere near that. But don't disrespect Ben Simmons. He got paid that contract because he was a 3-time All-Star. He was an All-NBA player, and he was All-Defensive Team. That's elite. And this is before the age of even 25 years old. All right? So people want to talk about that jump shot stuff all they want to. I'm looking at all the rest of the stuff that he brings to the game, and I thought he could have helped the team. All right? Let me read.
Ben Simmons is a great player, but the way this team is constructed, you bring Ben Simmons in here, it's going to be tough on Julius Randle. The only thing Ben Simmons can do is drive in the paint, which is basically what you're doing offensively. You're getting defense, right? That we can agree on. But what you're doing is basically you're trading away RJ's 3-point shot. So all you're getting is the driving to the paint from Ben Simmons, and he can average 20 points a game, but I don't think that's going to help our team. Ben Simmons is a great player. I think if he went to a team like Miami, that would be ridiculous. If Miami had Ben Simmons right now, with the way that team is constructed, with all those 3-point shooters around him, he would be dominating the playoffs. But I just don't think he fits this team right now. He is a great player. I don't want to take that away from him, but everything is about fit. And the Knicks are one of those teams in the league that they are very, very constructed in a certain way where not any player can just come in here. There has to be a player that just fits. Just they're too young, and they don't have those players yet that can, that can complement Ben Simmons at all. Like it wouldn't make sense for us. But if he went to Miami, I'd pick Miami to win a championship this year.
So Mansa Deshaun said this is slowly becoming RJ's team. I agree with that. Based on what we've seen last night, we got to have more of that from last night. Now, again, Knicks fans, I'm not talking about RJ Barrett scoring 30, 35 points every night. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about him being the focal point of the offense. Him taking the ball in his hands, teams, double teaming him because he's that hot, and then he can be able to dish off and be that effective. That type of difference maker that like Julius Randle is. And what we've seen from him last night, which I'm going to pull that up right now. I'm going to pull up his stats from last night so you guys can see that. So these are RJ Barrett's numbers: 35 points. He was 12 for 18 from the field, 6 for 8 from 3, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. And the reason why I have that highlighted in yellow is because to me that's what stands out to me. 1 turnover. RJ Barrett was the primary ball handler at the end of games, at the end of the game yesterday. And he only had 1 turnover on the entire night, ladies and gentlemen. 1 turnover. To me, that is very, very, very important to have, right? And that's the RJ Barrett that I've been dying to see. That's the reason why I was so hard on him last season, right? That's the reason why, because I wanted him. The Miami game, literally the game against Miami, where he took Jimmy Butler off the dribble, went left for the layup. I was happy about that, even though he missed the layup, because I was like, the Knicks finally gave RJ Barrett the ball in that situation to try to win us the game. Not that he missed the layup. I didn't care about that. I'm just happy that they gave RJ Barrett the ball and not Julius Randle, right? And people were going to say, well, how can RJ Barrett expect to get the ball if they don't pass him the ball and things of that nature? What you seen last night, RJ Barrett took over the game. He took it. And that, for me, that's what I've always wanted to see from RJ Barrett. You know what I mean? It's not me being a hater. It wasn't that I was just coming down on him just to come down on him, but last night was what we've seen, and that's what I've always wanted to see from RJ Barrett. What are your thoughts on that? Him taking over the game.
That was and I want to be. I don't think that he's slowly taking over the team at all. I just think that last night he showed his potential once again, but he showed it to a level where he hasn't shown it before. We haven't had a game like that from RJ. Like I said before, RJ scored 30 points before, but he hasn't scored it in this manner, and I think this is a good sign. This was something that we were waiting for years from Frank Ntilikina. We've seen Frank Ntilikina show his potential, but he never showed his ability to actually own his game. And what we saw last night from RJ is that he owned his game, and he actually looked like a demon out there. And I think that is a great sign. And I think that's what the Knicks front office and the coaching staff, they knew he had it in him, but they were waiting for him to do this in the game. And now the fans see it. I don't know if this is going to be something that he does next year or maybe the year after. I'm expecting more when he hits 24, for him to hit that peak where he's going to be one of those early guys that hits his prime early. Most guys in the league hit their prime in 27. I expect RJ to hit his prime at 24. So, what we saw last night was great. And if he does it more, we got to go. I mean, a guy at that age doing that on a nightly basis, that's a different type of player. If he does it at 24, I'm fine with that too. But, I hope RJ proves me wrong. I hope RJ can become this player every day. I'm all about potential, though. And I think, I was a big Frank Ntilikina fan. I just love his defense. And when you have a team that sucks for years, I think that was the whole thing with Frank Ntilikina for Knicks fans. We actually saw something good for once, something that actually showed bravado. And I think that was part of Frank Ntilikina's defense. It was like, all right, you can't just violate us all the time. We got a defensive player. And I think that was the hype around Frank Ntilikina. I still think Frank Ntilikina has a future in the league. He can be a 15-point per game scorer, a 3-and-D player. He just has to find his way. But what we saw from RJ again is the potential to be a demon on the court. And if he can do that more this year, that's great. But I don't expect him to take over this team this year. If he does, make the heavens rain on me, because that means we got somebody that's very, very special. But last night was super special, because when I seen him, he didn't do it just once. He did it twice. He went over the screen and he shot that 3, and he did it off the dribble.
Yes.
And when he did it that second time, I told myself, this boy is special. And I think RJ just has to, he's going to go against tougher opponents where he's not going to be able to have games like that. He's going to go against some grown men. Yesterday, we have to understand that team is very young in RJ's caliber. These are his future peers in the league. So, that he's showing, he's probably, it's like a lion's den. You got your young cubs showing the other cubs, like, listen, when we get that main, I just want to let you know I'm going to be the boss. And I think that's what that was yesterday. This a young man showing the other young men who's the future king. But, I don't expect that from him every day. If we go against a team like Miami, I don't expect RJ to take over the game. If he does, that means he just felt it that night. We go against a team like Milwaukee, maybe. I'm not really too worried about their guards like that when it comes to defense, or respect to Drew Holiday, but they don't really scare me. The only guy that scares me on that team is the demon, Giannis. But I don't expect that every night from, and I want the fans to be very cautious. Today's game does not mean that RJ arrived. It just showed you that he is capable of doing that it isn't a fluke, that this guy's not no freaking catch and shoot player. You have a lot of players that we've seen it in the past, score 30 buckets off the catch and shoot. They're having a good day in the paint. But what he did at the 3-point line was a big sign. Coming off the dribble, coming off the screens. I mean, even last year, he was shooting in guys' faces. So that just shows you that he's with it. You know what I mean? So that's what I think about it.
So I just want to highlight this comment. Sean DeCosta, thanks for commenting. He said, now this is about doing this consistently. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Everyone's all on the same page with that. Ballas Cruz, here's why I disagree with you, though. I think RJ Barrett has arrived. I think he has arrived. What I seen from him last night showed me, because we still waiting for that other guy, right? Well, I think the Knicks need that other guy outside of Julius Randle to be able to close games for him, right? And let me just read this comment right here, because this person says that that's dumb to think that way. Let me just find it real quick. Jay Williams, he said, that's why the closer conversation is dumb. Whoever is open or hot closes the game. Well, obviously, but star players, and players that have that type of pedigree are more likely than not to close the game for you and to be hot during those tough moments.
And it creates easier situations at the end of the game if you have guys with that pedigree. It'll keep a guy like Emmanuel quickly open or something like that.
That's why, Jay Williams, that's why what you're saying, yeah, you're right. It's correct. But the reason why you get a guy like that and you pay him $30-something million is so he can do that. So he can be that person to be hot. That's why you're paying him the money. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but, So for me, I think RJ Barrett has arrived, right? Everything that you've seen him do as far as the progression of his career, right? And we can pull up the last 2 seasons that what he was doing his first 2 seasons, right? Once again, I'm not talking about production here, right? But these numbers right here, basically, this is him basically doing this or being a catch and shoot kind of player. Can slash a little bit, has trouble finishing with both hands. And basically not going up very strong to the rim. This is what the numbers that he was putting up. Very, very solid numbers. That's why I said that I always thought RJ Barrett was a really good player. And I liked where he was going. I liked his trajectory, and I would have had no problem if RJ Barrett would have continued to be a role player and help this team, win some games, right? But based off of these numbers right here and the way that he was playing, I just didn't see any type of closer with this type of player compared to what we've seen last night. I mean, that's insane. That's insane. You know what I mean? Like those numbers right there are insane. And it's the way he did it. So I think RJ Barrett definitely has arrived with this team. And this is only the beginning of the season. The Knicks still have 70-something games left to go in the season where this team is going to continue to gel together. And there's going to be times where Julius Randle isn't shooting the ball well, and they're going to have to go to somebody else to close the game for him. And I absolutely think it could be RJ Barrett. Now that he has that confidence, why not RJ? You know what I'm saying?
Well,
that's just how I feel about that.
I think for me, I just don't want to put that pressure on him. You know what I mean? I would love him to naturally take it. I don't want now for the fans to think RJ dropped 35. Now RJ is going to continue to drop 25 points a game. That is not necessarily the truth. If he does, I'm grateful, but I still want to see it to believe it. Let's go back to when KP had that year where he arrived. The first 2 years he was in the league, he was a good player. But that year, even though we were losing, we were kind of competitive until he got hurt. He showed us he arrived. It took me at least 5 games to realize it. But that 5th game, when he consistently did that at that 5th game, then I made the choice to say, this guy has arrived. He didn't come to play this year. KP had a stretch of games before he got hurt where he showed us that he was a problem. And KP's still a problem in this league. Unfortunately, it hasn't worked out the way he would have loved to work out. But you can't go play against KP and be like, oh, this boy's a scrub, or oh, I'm not worried about him. You have to be worried about him, especially when he's healthy. And that's what I want to see from RJ. If he does this within the next 20 games, if he has in the next 20 games a good 10 or 7 games where he does this, I'm going to be like, yeah, he arrived. He arrived. Now let's see if he can do it frequently on a night in, night out basis, because and when I say that, I don't mean score 25 points a game every night. What I mean is, can you do this to a point where teams are going to come to play us, and they're going to be like, oh man, damn, we got to double Julius Randle, but now we have to double freaking RJ too. Because when we get to that point, that takes this team to a different level. Because now you have options on options. Now the options come from Julius. You know what I mean? But if it gets to a point where he's being double teamed, then I can officially say RJ has arrived, because I would love to see that. I would love for teams to start planning against RJ, because it's going to open it up for these teams. And we might see guys, imagine Obi in transition with RJ and Julius Randle. Things are going to open up so much for other guys. I mean, Kemba Walker's going to be able to shoot more threes. And I think he's actually put an emphasis on shooting threes these last 2 years, because he knew he was slowing down. And I think that's a good thing for him. Even guys like Derrick Rose, one guy that I do want to talk about, because I think he's been, you know how some guys tend to hide with all the things that are going on. We've had so many things going on this year where our fans have been focused on RJ, slandering him, slandering Julius, hype about Kemba, which is well deserved. Alex Burks is looking terrible. I do not care about his percentages. I haven't even looked at them. I can just see that his impact on the court is not the same as last year. And he's looking really bad. He looks like he looks like he's seeing ghosts. Okay, he looks like Sam Darnold out there. To me, I've been looking at this game, and he has been a weak point on the second unit. I feel at this point he's not really doing enough for me to really keep him on there consistently. Throw a guy like Quentin Grimes in there, see what he can do with that second unit. Maybe he can give them more of a spot up shooter weapon in that second unit. But right now, Alex Burks has been hiding on this, and no fan has spoken on it, because they're just focused on Julius and all these things. But listen, Alex Burks, nah, he's not doing it for me this year. And it's not because I expect him to be scoring like he did last year. It's just the little things he's been doing. He hasn't been playing defense well. The inbounding, it's just been a lot of things. I just feel like I've seen him at points where he's not looking to pass, where he's just driving and then coming back to the perimeter because he had no option. And it's just he does something that Emmanuel Quickly does sometimes, but I'm not really too mad about Emmanuel Quickly doing that, because I feel like When you've been dropping people on the floor as he's done since he got into the league, I expect a player to do that. You've earned that right. You've been breaking ankles. You've earned that right to do that. So I don't get mad. You know how some of these fans get mad at Emmanuel quickly for not. I don't get mad at him. He's gonna come around. He showed it last year. This isn't a fluke. He's not Alonzo Trier, guys. You know what I mean? This guy can really ball. But the fact that Alex Burks is trying to do all these things and it's not working out and nobody's noticed that has really bothered my soul. I've been like, yo, this guy's been terrible this year.
So the thing is, it's not that people don't notice it. I think a lot of people do notice that. But the thing with Alex Burks, he can still get hot, right? He can still get hot. He can still knock down those shots, and he can still be a guy who can ball handle that you can have on the floor to do a little bit of playmaking. The issue with Alex Burks is the Knicks just paid him the money. They can sign him to a contract. So you can't bench that guy. The optics of it just does not look good. This is where the politics of it comes into play. I wasn't a big fan of the Knicks bringing back Alex Burks. I wanted them to bring back Reggie Bullock. I thought Reggie Bullock would have been a better piece to have, particularly off the bench, because now you got a guy who can shoot, who's 3-and-D off the bench. That's the type of player that I wanted the Knicks to have. You know what I mean? They could have still went out and got Fournier, but I would rather them have signed Reggie Bullock because I like Reggie Bullock's continuity. He doesn't necessarily need the ball in his hands to score in that second unit. And I thought that he would have been a perfect fit in that second unit instead of Alex Burks. But that's just my opinion. It's all done. But I don't think Alex Burks is going to get benched. I don't think he's going to lose minutes. And if that does happen, I think the Knicks are pretty much going to look to shop him. His contract is movable after a certain point, so I think that's what's going to happen.
I don't think he has a fully guaranteed contract at all, right? Like
he does. He does.
Okay.
He has a fully guaranteed contract. But
I think the reason they signed him at the time is they didn't have Kemba Walker, so I felt like they needed another guy who can create offense for others, and they kind of felt restrained to the guys they had because they wanted some continuity. I think if they would have knew they were going to sign Kemba Walker before they signed Alex Burks, we'd have another guy in that. Probably, I think that's what led to it. But even when it comes to him dribbling the ball, he hasn't done that well either. I mean, all the things that he brought to this team, the little things that I liked about Alex Burks last year, he has not done this year. And I don't know if that's because he's hurt or something like that, but he's not looking too good this year. And I'm not really. I feel like this bench could be way stronger if he was being productive, and he hasn't. Maybe he'll get back on it. Sometimes people got things going on in their personal lives too. That's why I really don't. I'm not one of those fans that really just poke at a play and stuff like that. Because people are humans. These guys do get paid millions of dollars, but you never know what's going on with them. But I'm just not too happy about how it's coming into play with the second unit. And I hope that they can work on that. And maybe he needs a break to gather himself and his thoughts. Because it's not that I feel like he's lost the ability. There's no way a guy loses the ability from year to year. I mean, unless it's a major injury, right?
Right.
And especially a guy like that who's been doing it for so long. I just feel like right now he doesn't seem to be there all there. And it's kind of like the opposite of Julius Randle. People are saying that Julius is not mentally there. I don't believe that. I
don't feed that at all.
That's a stupid narrative. He's just a demon, and teams are focused on him this year. It wasn't like last year. Last year he came in, teams weren't focused on him. You know what I mean? So he was able to ball out like that. This year, teams are focused on him, but it's not hurting us. It's actually benefiting us. Thing with Alex Burks is he just looks lost out there right now. And I think Tom Thibodeau could do very well right now because I really think his production it's not going to affect us whether we play him or not. So I think, put a guy like Quentin Grimes in there for a little bit. See if he can make some shots. So that way that can stay in the mind of scouts out in the league. So when we do get to the training deadline and there's a star player available, then maybe we got some pieces that we can move like Quentin Grimes and Obi and things like that. And I know a lot of fans here are going to hate on me about Obi, but I truly love Obi. I think Obi right now, if he was on another team, be scoring buckets. So it's just like what we're trying to do right now. If Quentin Grimes can actually show his potential, I think we have, it's all about value in this league. You know what I'm saying? Like we have a lot of first round picks. If Quentin Grimes can show a team here that he can shoot and defend in this league, Obi, I already think executives are looking at him and be like, this guy is not a fluke. He's actually a player. I think you have a higher value than we've ever had with guys like Kevin Knox, Frank Ntilikina. I think all you need is a trade package surrounding Quentin Grimes and Obi if Quentin plays. They can get you a good player.
So I'm going to ask you this question, but let me just say, Alex Burks signed a 3-year, $30 million contract. His last year is not guaranteed. It's a team option. Right, okay. So he'll be here for his contract has him guaranteed for at least this season and the next season, and the season after that he will be unrestricted if the team decides not to pick up his third year. Let me ask you this question: are the Knicks one player away from contending?
The way this team is constructed, I believe so. I think the way this team is constructed, I love Mitch. But if we can get a dominant center, I think DeAndre Ayton is having some contract issues right now. He's a scorer. He's not great defensively, but right now this team is not defensively that minded. And I think Tom Thibodeau could actually bring out a good the defense from DeAndre, because it's not that he doesn't have the ability. The guy's a fucking huge beast. I think he just doesn't do it. You know what I mean? I think that's what it is. And I think Tom Thibodeau brings out the best in everybody. But if you can bring out a dominant, because I think the way this team is constructed right now, when it comes to the 1 through 4 positions, we're pretty solidified in that. And I don't think we're going to trade away Evan Fournier. We just gave him a big deal. And I think RJ is an untradeable asset. And I think Kemba is an untradeable. Not that he's an untradeable asset, but I think the Knicks have some sort of loyalty to Kemba right now, especially since he came in on a cheap deal, and that allows us some flexibility when it comes to the other positions. But if there's a center out there who's very good, like Cat, DeAndre, that can come to these Knicks, I think we have to pull the trigger, because I do think we're a player away the way this team is constructed and the depth of this team. Now, if you're trading away Obi, you have to find somebody that can replace his minutes in production. So if you're going to do that, it has to be surrounded. Maybe Alex Burks is a piece that you can use to get one of those power forwards. I'm thinking of a guy like Covington or something like that. Just somebody that can come in, drop a 3, play defense. That's really all you need for that second unit. Because to be honest, that unit is Derrick Rose and Emmanuel Quickley's. That's what it really comes down to.
And that's what I said about the Knicks making the midseason trade. I still think that we need to get a guy who can be 3-and-D on the bench. I truly do believe that. I'm trying to think. Covington was someone that I was looking at as well, but there was another player who I thought would have been good for that spot. I can't remember right now. I was thinking about it yesterday. 11:30 Entertainment, thank you for the comment. He said, don't see how we not championship contenders right now.
We're not. I mean, we
will have to be able to see that the way they're playing right now. Absolutely. If RJ Barrett can be that dude next to Julius Randle and be that bucket getter at the end of games, I think we can definitely contend in the Eastern Conference. I said that last night, and I stand by what I said. If RJ Barrett can play that way, and all that can transfer over into the playoffs, there's no doubt in my mind the Knicks are championship contenders right now. That's the reason why I wanted to bring in someone who can play next to Julius Randle, right? But if RJ Barrett's doing that, then this is not even a conversation. The Knicks are definitely championship contenders, right? I just didn't see RJ Barrett doing that because they never gave him the ball to be able to create and for him to be able to take someone off the dribble.
So who's the center in this league that you're willing to trade Obi, Mitch, and Quentin and some picks for right now?
Obi, Mitch, Quentin.
Because I think if you're going to trade any center on this team that has value, it's going to be Mitch. It's not going to be Nerlens. I think Nerlens is going to continue to be our backup.
I think Mitchell Robinson is on his way to being one of the top 5 centers in the NBA. I think he's on his way there. He's not there, but I think he's definitely on his way there. He needs an offense. He needs to develop more of an offensive game. That's no question about that. But I believe he could. He could be very, very dominant off that lob play. And defensively, I think Mitchell Robinson can be a game changer.
But what I think is that the Knicks are a piece away, and I think it's a center for me. And I think if they do trade for a center, they're not going to throw away their future because they still got guys like RJ quickly and some young players like Julius. If you're going to make that trade because you feel like you can win a title if you get this player without hampering your team, because really all you got to do is replace Obi after that trade. Who are you trading for?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it as much. Listen, Karl Anthony Towns would definitely be an upgrade at the position. There's no question about that. The dude can drop 25 and 14. He can do that, you know what I'm saying? But I just really haven't thought about it too much right now. I like what the Knicks have. I don't want to trade anybody on this team yet. I think, like I said, I think the only trades that are going to happen are going to be midway through the season. Right now, I'm very comfortable with what they have. I don't know who's going to be disgruntled. It doesn't seem like anyone's disgruntled right now. We can make up these narratives all we want. I don't think anyone's disgruntled as of right now. It's still early in the season, and I guess we'll find that out as the season goes on. I'm not ready to make any trades yet. No trades right now.
The Suns are about
to. You hear that, Knicks fans? No trades. Josh does not want to make any trades right now.
The only reason I bring that up is the Suns are about to have a problem. I don't know how big of a problem, but there is an article coming out about the owners soon, about him being a racist, and he's going to be
Sarver?
Yeah, he's going to be forced to sell the team eventually. And that might not bode well for the black players on the team, right? Which is the majority of the league. Now, a
Right.
guy like DeAndre Ayton, who just got played for a contract, he's probably going to be like, what? I'm not signing with this team at all now. So that's why I bring that up. I only bring that up because, he is going to be a free agent next year. Uh, the Suns don't look like they're going to sign him. And maybe they're waiting to trade Chris Paul again. Maybe they think Chris Paul is continuing to be a flippable object or something like that. But as it stands right now, to me, he's available at one point this season. And I think it's gotten to a point where, if this article does come out, a guy like DeAndre is probably going to be like, you know what, after the contract situation and everything, I want to get away from this team. And I think a guy like DeAndre would be great in a Knicks uniform and great. I mean, we haven't had one thing about the Knicks is that when we were good, every time we've actually been title contenders, look back at our history, we've had dominant centers. That's been the identity of this team. And I think we've kind of forgot that. I mean, we had Willis Reed and we had um, Patrick Ewing, right? And I just think about those times, and I think about getting a center that can just come in here and really just dominate in the paint around the shooters we have, and around with the power forward we have, and the young bunny star and RJ. And I think we would be really good. And I love Mitch, but I don't think he's ever going to develop an offensive game to the point where he's going to be a threat. You know what I mean? I think he's going to be great defensively, but I also don't think he's ever going to reach the levels of what's his name from the Utah Jazz. I forget his name. Gobert. I think he's a great defensive player, and I think he's always going to be a great defensive player. But if I can trade for a guy like DeAndre, I'm not too much of a fan of Karl Anthony Towns. For me, I don't really like undersized centers, and I think he's a little too short for me. I like my 7-footers. So a guy like DeAndre really appeals to me, and I just think if we get a center again that's dominant, you can really say the New York Knicks are back, because then you'll see the articles. We haven't had a center of this caliber since Patrick, since Reed. You know what I mean? I can see it now. That's the only reason I'm saying that. The Knicks with a guy like DeAndre, imagine his lineup. Kemba Walker, RJ Barrett, Evan Fournier, Julius Randle, DeAndre Ayton, okay? Then you still have your bench. We'll find a way to replace Obi. Those are my dreams. Probably far-fetched, but I don't think it's a bad trade. It's just hypothetical, and I know a lot of people in the chat are probably going, "You crazy? I would never trade Mitch."
They are. They coming at you pretty hard.
But if you think Mitchell Robinson is better than DeAndre Ayton, you're out your noggin. And they're around the same age, so.
Well, there you have it, man. Ballas Cruz, I want to thank you for coming on. This is a very great discussion / debate. I'm not going to ask the chat who won, because I'm still going to believe we won. I won no matter what. All right. But I do want to play this clip real quick, because people say that I'm an RJ hater, right? And I totally disagree with that. Right? I'm going to play this clip. I'm going to play this clip from yesterday. I want you guys to look at this and let me know what you think about this. Here it goes.
Okay. All right. Josh.
Knicks 120, Pelicans 99. RJ 30 points.
Ooh, wow.
Ooh.
I like that.
30 points for RJ tonight. I'd love to see that.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I just want you to understand something. I've always liked RJ Barrett as a player. I know I came down pretty tough on him, right? I didn't know that he had the ability to do what he did last night, but I predicted it, ladies and gentlemen. So don't think that I'm out here hating on RJ Barrett, right? Because, listen, I predicted him to do what he did yesterday, and he went out and did it. So,
Listen, Josh A. Smith, let me tell you something about my boy RJ, all right? RJ is the best player in the league now. But Josh, you need to lay off the RJ tricks for a little bit, all right? You're not allowed.
Hey, if he keeps playing like he did yesterday, I will have nothing to say but great things about RJ Barrett.
You are not allowed to bask in his glory yet, okay? I think all Knicks fans just are being very possessive, and they're right. You weren't on the train. You weren't part of the RJ brigade, okay? All right, you weren't part of the Canadian sensation, the Canadian Mambas hype train. Okay, so we don't really appreciate you just coming in here and forgetting about your past. Now, are you as bad as No Take Nate? No, sometimes No Take. He's one of the guys that, all respect to him, when he gets on this thing and he says something, I just, oh my God, you know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about, dude? All love to you, Nate, but you need to work on your takes. And then the Verizon Whopper Jr. I mean, sometimes he gets in here. Listen, I feel like if this team was to win a championship, Sims, I don't know, man. I'm glad we won the championship, but Julius Randle only scored 6 points, and I don't know about him, man. That guy, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with the Verizon service in there. Maybe the signals are messing with his brain or something. And maybe he didn't have the great whopper. But I just want to let the guys know in the chat. UnclefOOlio has grown a lot from last year. Okay, so calm it down.
I've grown with the team. I've grown with the team. The team has shown me that they can be successful and be some sort of competent, and I've grown with it. The year before that, it was even worse. I'm just letting y'all know that right now. I didn't see it. I was very unhappy with the organization. Now I'm much more happy with it. And I have some other takes that I'm gonna save for the end of this season or whatever the case may be.
I'll tell you
I'm gonna
what,
keep in my pocket.
I'm gonna keep this promise. If RJ continues, because you said he arrived. If he continues, if he's arrived by the All-Star break, right? I will personally send you the RJ Barrett New York Knicks City Edition jersey from this year, which looks actually better, by the way, than it's had in the past. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah,
they haven't wore it. I will send you one, okay? And that will be in good faith. And then you can hang that on your wall, and you could be like, "See, I told Ballard."
It's gonna go right there. It's gonna go right there in that spot right there.
I told the rest of the chat that he arrived, if he has. But guys, he's not as bad as the other two fools, Verizon Whopper Jr. and No Take Nate. All right, calm down on Josh. Sometimes he does make some takes, and I think, to be honest, Josh, you know what it is. Sometimes you just have this punchable face on the Zoom. And not only that, I think Josh has an ulterior motive. I think he enjoys. I mean, look at the name. It's called the Kontroversy. He does these things to really just bother you Knicks fans who are so sensitive and toxic. And I see it sometimes. And that's why I never really think that he's actually being that serious. Sometimes I'll be like, yo, look at Josh here just riling up these guys, okay? But he's grown a lot. I remember I've been watching this show for at least 3 years. And last year was the blossoming of this show. Shout out to Sims. And in the beginning of the year, I was really not liking Josh's takes, man. He was over here trying to trade away the team and calling RJ a role player and all this good stuff. But by the second half,
you're the one that called him a complimentary piece. So
listen, no, he was a complimentary piece, but a complimentary piece and a role play are two different things. A role play is a guy who's been in the league at least 5+ years and he's found the role. A complimentary piece is a guy who's actually complimenting the team at this moment. We can get in discussion about that because I have my idea about that. But I remember by the second half, I want to give you credit for this last year. You turned into the biggest cheerleader from Bring It On. And I want to congratulate you on that because you had your pom-poms for the Knicks every night. But, that Russell Westbrook trade, you lost in that, Josh. You lost in that. You're not winning nobody over with that horrendous trade. I think if you try to do that trade in 2K, it would tell you, you're wrong, okay? So I just want to leave it at that.
All right. Well, once again, thank you for joining me, man. I really appreciate you coming on. Let me just highlight some of these comments before I get out of here. Kerry Cox said Josh said 30 because he didn't want any smoke. I said 30. I said 30 because I predicted it. So thank you very much.
I honestly did not see RJ having that game yesterday. I did think he was going to have a good game, but I didn't imagine the way he scored those buckets yesterday. I did not see that coming.
Shay Stacks, Josh, I'm not the one to think you hate. What you were saying was facts. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Oh, No Take Nate is here. He has a comment for you. He said, dude is flip-flops. Hold on. He said some other stuff here. Let me see if I can get it up here.
Listen, everybody in the chat knows. No Take Nate. You got that name for a reason, man.
So he said, Nate says he wants to debate you. So, we'll probably set that up.
He can debate me. He's going to lose. Listen, shout out to Sims again. But Nate, come on, man. Nate, you don't want to debate me, man. Even me, I feel like me and Josh, even though he says he won, Josh, I didn't back down. Josh didn't back down. And I'm one of those guys in my group of friends that I'm a debater. This is what I do. So if you want to debate me, Nate, take Nate. You can earn it. If you beat me, I will call you the greatest debater of all time, Nate. All right? So just let
all right. Nate said he ain't scared. So we'll figure out the way to set that up. Once again, though, Ballas Crew, thank you for coming on with me, man. I typically don't do these shows over an hour. Right now, we're at this hour point right now, and it's time to sign off and watch some football.
So I gotta get ready. I'll fly out tomorrow to Chicago. So
there you go.
Get ready.
There you go. Any last words you want to say? To everyone?
I just want to say, God bless you, brother, man. I really enjoyed coming here. I like the chewing back away from the smoke. You know what I mean? And like I said yesterday when I called in, I respect you for showing up to the chat after RJ had that game. I didn't see No Take Nate or Whopper Jr. Verizon show up yesterday, so I was really disappointed in them. They tend to way to flee from the smoke. I mean, you know, they have their lives too, but it just so happens that RJ had a monster game and they didn't show up with all that slander RJ they've been having. But I want to shout out this chat. I want to shout out this podcast, Nothing But Knicks. It's the best one online. I really enjoy you guys. I like the diversity you have in your group, and that's what brings me back all the time. The fact that you guys always have consistently about 4 to 5 guys to share their takes, and it creates entertainment. You know, it gives you villains and it gives you heroes. You know what I'm saying? I think I want to give a shout out to the MVP Sims, man. You're doing a great job. Continue to do what you're doing, and God bless the whole chat. Continue to have a good year. Wear your mask. If you want to get vaccinated, that's up to you. I'm vaccinated. Everybody has the right to choose what they want to do. But be careful out there. It's still out there. God bless your families. And I'm sending a lot of love to you guys.
Well, there you have it. I appreciate you for coming on again. Once again, let me just plug the Queen's Court. Ladies and gentlemen, every Monday, whenever the Knicks do not have a basketball game that day, the Queen's Court is going to be on at 8:30. This week, since the Knicks are playing this Monday right now, Queen's Court has been moved to Tuesday at 8:30. Okay, so stay tuned for that. Steph is going to have a panel on there. We're going to discuss the Knicks weekend review and go over the games that the Knicks have played. So that should be a fun show. Also, stay tuned today. We do have an episode of the Shoot Around. Sim and the rest of us are going to break down yesterday's game, talk about a little bit more about RJ and what he did, and what the Knicks did to pull out that victory, that cardiac victory that we've been talking about lately. So definitely stay tuned for that. Once again, thank you everyone for joining with me. I look forward to doing this again. If there's anybody out there that wants to debate me, I'm not hiding from the smoke. Shoot Sim an email, and we can be able to get this thing rocking. And I'm more than happy to have you on. All right. So, guys, enjoy the rest of your Sundays. I'm going to talk to you later. Signing out here, and I'm gone. Peace.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Who gon' win us the game? You want to hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.